The village of Umokwe was a place of pride and strength, nestled between lush forests and rolling hills. It was known for its hardworking men, its vibrant markets, and most notably, its beautiful women. Any man seeking a wife knew that Umokwe had some of the most stunning maidens in all the neighboring villages. Among the men of Umokwe, one name stood out: Ikenna. Ikenna was not just another young man. He was a legend in the making. Tall, strong, and handsome. He had the physique of a warrior and the hands of a skilled blacksmith. His sweat glistened under the sun as he molded iron with precision, creating tools and weapons that were highly sought after. Women admired him from afar, their eyes following his every move. Mothers whispered his name to their daughters, hoping he would take an interest in them. But there was one problem, one that no one dared to speak in his presence. Welcome to Storytime with Adanne. As you enjoy this story, please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Thank you. The first woman Ikenna courted was Adaeze. Ikenna had always admired Adaeze, the village beauty of Umokwe. She was the kind of woman men dreamed about, the kind that made warriors lose their focus during wrestling matches. With her smooth skin, eyes that shimmered like fresh palm wine, and a figure that could make a palm tree bend in admiration, Adaeze was a woman of undeniable charm. But beyond her beauty, she was bold, confident, and full of pride. She walked through the village with the grace of a queen, her anklets jiggling softly with each step. Men tried to win her heart, bringing gifts of yam, palm wine, and even goats, but she always rejected them, saying, "I will only marry a man who can match my fire." So when Ikenna finally decided to approach her, the entire village held its breath. It was a bright afternoon during the New Yam festival that Ikenna saw his opportunity. The villagers had gathered at the market square, where music and laughter filled the air. Women danced gracefully, their wrappers tied firmly around their waists, while men showed off their strength in a display of traditional wrestling. Ikenna stood tall, his chest glistening with sweat, as he had just defeated 3 men in a row. He was the undisputed champion of the match. As he walked through the crowd, he caught sight of Adaeze, watching him from a distance. Her arms folded, a playful smirk played on her lips. She was not like the other women who giggled and whispered when they saw him. She stared him straight in the eyes, as if testing his worth. Ikenna took a deep breath and walked up to her. "Adaeze," he greeted, his deep voice full of confidence. She raised an eyebrow. "The great Ikenna finally speaks to me." The villagers paused, pretending not to be listening, but hanging on to every word. Ikenna smirked. "I see you've been watching me." Adaeze tilted her head. "I watch many things, but tell me, Ikenna, why do you come to me today?" Ikenna did not waste time. "I want you to be my wife." Gasps echoed around them. This was the most direct proposal anyone had ever made to Adaeze. But instead of looking shocked or flustered, Adaeze simply laughed a rich, deep laugh that sent shivers down the spines of the listening villagers. "Many men have tried," she said, her eyes shining with amusement. "But what makes you think you are different?" Ikenna took a step closer, his voice steady. "Because you and I know that I am not like any other man." For the first time, Adaeze's smirk faltered. For a brief moment, she hesitated, something she had never done before. Then, just as quickly, she straightened her shoulders and said, "Very well, Ikenna, I accept." The villagers buzzed with excitement. It seemed that Ikenna had found his match. Women gossiped. "If anyone can handle him, it is Adaeze." Men nodded. "She is strong, confident, The elders arranged a traditional wine-carrying ceremony, and a date was set for Adanne to spend her first night in Ikenna's hut. The night came swiftly, and the moon hung like a silent witness in the sky. Inside the hut, Ikenna waited as Adanne removed her coral beads, her confidence still unshaken. She turned to him and smirked. "I hope you're ready for me, Ikenna," she whispered. Ikenna said nothing. He only watched her. But then, everything changed. The moment Adanne laid eyes on what was about to face her, her smile vanished. Her breath hitched. Her hands trembled. And then she screamed. A scream so loud and shrill that it pierced the silent night, waking up the entire village. Women rushed to their doors. Men grabbed their machetes, thinking a spirit had entered Ikenna's hut. But before anyone could get there, Adanne came out running, clutching her wrapper, shaking uncontrollably. She ran past her father's hut, past the village square. She did not stop until she reached her home, where she collapsed on the floor, gasping for breath. Her father rushed to her side. Adanne, Mom, what is it? Ogini." Tears streamed down her face. She pointed towards Ikenna's hut, her voice barely above a whisper. That man is not a human. That man is not human." The next morning, the entire village was in an uproar. People gathered at Adanne's home, demanding an explanation. She refused to speak at first, but then, with a shaking voice, she declared, "I cannot survive him." Her father, red with anger and fear, cancelled the marriage immediately. "No daughter of mine will marry a man who will kill her on their first night." And with that, Adanne's chapter in Ikenna's life came to an abrupt and humiliating end. By mid-morning, the story had spread like wildfire. Children whispered to each other, giggling. Young women thanked their chi that they had never entertained Ikenna's advances. The village drunk was heard saying, "Ikenna's wife will have to be a spirit from the gods, not a mere woman." Ikenna was left humiliated. For the first time, he felt defeated. But he refused to believe this was the end. He told himself, "This is just one woman. Surely there must be another woman who can handle me." Adanne was just not the right one. Somewhere out there, his destined woman existed. He just had to find her. But at what cost? The news of Adanne's terrifying encounter with Ikenna spread like wildfire across Omokwe and beyond. While some believed Ikenna was cursed, others whispered that Adanne was simply too weak to handle a real man. Then came Nkem. She was bold, fearless, and proud of her reputation, known for her experience in handling men. She walked through the village with an air of confidence, her wide hips swaying, her head held high. She had been with many men, some warriors, some hunters, some traders, but never had she met one that she could not handle. So, when she heard the gossip about Ikenna, she laughed. What is all this nonsense about a man no woman can handle? She scoffed one evening at the village square. Are the women in this village weak? Or do they not know how to handle a real man? The young men chuckled, eager to see how this would end. Even Ikenna himself heard about her boasts. For the first time since his embarrassment with Adanne, he felt a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, Nkem would be different. The full moon bathed the village in the silver light as Nkem made her way to Ikenna's hut. She walked with confidence, dressed in a wrapper tied just above her chest, her smooth dark skin glowing under the night. The villagers watched from the shadows, whispering among themselves, "If Nkem cannot handle him, then no woman can." Ikenna stood by the entrance of his hut, his arms crossed over his broad chest. His dark eyes studied her, searching for even a hint of hesitation. But she did not falter. With a slow knowing smile, Nkem stepped inside. Inside the hut, the air was thick with anticipation. The dim glow of an oil lamp cast flickering shadows on the mud walls. Ikenna watched as Nkem untied her wrapper, her movements deliberate. She approached him boldly, her fingers trailing over his chest. feeling the solid muscles beneath his skin. "I hope you are ready for me," she whispered, her breath warm against his ear. But the moment he removed his waistcloth, everything changed. Nkem's eyes widened in sheer horror. Her boastful confidence vanished in an instant. She stumbled backwards. Her breathing raged, her legs trembling like a child standing before a lion. "Chimo!" she gasped, her hand flying to her chest. Ikenna frowned. "Nkem?" But before he could say another word, Nkem's eyes rolled back and she collapsed onto the floor. Ikenna stared in shock. "Nkem, Nkem!" He bent down, shaking her lightly. Her body lay still, her breathing shallow. For a moment, he thought she was dead. But then she stirred, her lips quivering as she muttered, "This is not a man. This is a spirit." Shaking like a leaf caught in a storm, she scrambled to her feet, tied her wrapper hastily, and bolted out of the hut. The moment Nkem ran into the night, the villagers knew something had gone terribly wrong. She did not speak of what happened. She did not boast anymore. Instead, she disappeared from the village square, from gatherings, from the playful evening discussions under the great Iroko tree. She became a shadow of herself. She no longer walked with her usual confidence. Whenever she passed, whispers followed her. "Nkem the great handler, yet he could not handle Ikenna, abi?" Our fearless lioness turned into a frightened chicken. One day, at the stream, a group of young women saw her and burst into laughter. "Nkem, how far now?" One of them teased. "Did you truly faint? Or did your spirit leave your body?" Nkem ignored them, her face burning with shame. Even the village drunk Ozemena could not resist mocking her. One evening, as she walked past him at the palm wine tapper's hut, he raised his gourd of wine and called out, "Nkem, are you still recovering from Ikenna's wahala?" The crowd erupted into laughter. Her cheeks flushed, and she hurried away, avoiding their taunts. Even though no one knew exactly what had happened that night, everyone knew one thing for sure. Nkem, the so-called expert, had failed. And if she could not handle Ikenna, then who could? Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. Yet Ikenna remained without a wife. The whispers in Umokwe grew louder. At first, the villagers had laughed at the women who had failed to handle him. Adaeze, the village beauty. Nkem, the so-called manhandler. But soon, the laughter turned into concern. Could this be something deeper? Was Ikenna cursed? One evening, the village elders gathered under the great Iroko tree, their faces lined with worry. The oldest among them, Ichie Okafor, stroked his grey beard and shook his head. "This is not ordinary," he murmured. "A man as strong and wealthy as Ikenna should have a wife by now." "I agree," added Ichie Ezemmo, the village spiritual advisor. "This is beyond mere human strength. There is something unnatural about it." Some believe that Ikenna's ancestors had placed a burden upon him. Others whisper that he had been touched by a spirit from birth, making it impossible for ordinary women to handle him. But one thing was clear. If something was not done soon, Ikenna might never marry. Ikenna's mother, Mama Ikenna, was a strong woman who had raised him alone after his father's death. She was proud of the man her son had become. Strong, hardworking, and respected. But now, her heart was heavy with worry. Each day, as she walked into the market, she heard the whispers. "Mami Ikenna, when will we dance at your son's wedding? Mami Ikenna, when will you carry your grandchildren? Or is your son truly not of this world?" At night, she sat by the fire, watching Ikenna as he sat in silence, staring into the flames. He was a man, yet carried the sadness of one who had been denied love. Mami Ikenna knew what she had to do, and she would do it fast. One morning, before the cock crowed, Mami Ikenna wrapped her wrapper tightly around her waist and set off towards the deep forest, where the great Dibia Okadike lived. The path was long, winding through thick bushes and towering trees. But she pressed on. This was for her son. After what felt like hours, she arrived at the Dibia's sacred shrine. Skulls of animals hung from trees, and the smell of burning herbs filled the air. The old Dibia sat cross-legged, his eyes closed as he listened to the spirits. Without opening his eyes, he spoke. "You have come for your son, Ikenna." Mama Ikenna's heart skipped a beat. "Yes, wise one," she said, kneeling before him. "My son, he is unable to find a wife. No woman can handle his manhood. The village is beginning to question him. Please, I need answers." The Dibia picked up a calabash filled with white chalk and drew strange symbols on the ground. He then threw 4 cowries on the sand. Eke, Orio, Afar, Nkwo, watching as they landed.